I want to talk about the border wall. Because as of right now, you've got Trump's vision for a wall along the Mexico border. It's still unfinished. And if he leaves office, and I emphasize if, in January, Joe Biden has pledged to stop construction after he is inaugurated. The project's half built, and it's broken up by gaps right now. I want to bring on a very special guest, Victor Avila, retired Supervisory Special Agent with the U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. Victor, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to just skip the chase here and go right to this. If construction on the border wall stops, in your opinion, what's the impact?
It's going to be a huge impact. This is a project that is really requested by the men and women of our Border Patrol down in our southern border. They've been wanting this wall for many, many years. When I worked down there in the border on the Texas side, I wish I had that kind of a barrier, and we would have seen a stop of influx of vehicles coming across with drugs, people coming across with drugs, the human smuggling, the human trafficking that comes through in between the ports of entry. And so the stopping of the construction abruptly, as Joe Biden says it's going to be, it's a dangerous path moving forward. It's something that it's a tool that they really want and need.
Victor, I've interviewed a number of Border Patrol agents on this show. I have Tom Homan, former ICE director, on all the time. Firsthand knowledge, just like you. Everybody has said the same thing. A border wall is needed. It helps. It works. Yet you've got a Biden administration that looks at a border wall like it's a negative. They playing purely politics, in your opinion?
Absolutely. You know, they want to shift it over to a feeling of either you're racist or you're against other cultures, other countries, and that's not the case. This is the case of border security is also a case of national security. It's a matter of protecting our sovereignty and the safety of our U.S. citizens in our country. And the border wall is just an additional tool. We understand that it's not a solve-all, but it's something that really would help in the traffic of illicit of people and goods down there.
Victor, you think this would be a case like when Obama came in? You know, he campaigned on shutting down Guantanamo Bay. That's all he campaigned on. It was one of the big things. He gets in and he doesn't shut down Guantanamo Bay because I think he gets in and he realizes, okay, look, this is important in our fight against terrorism. It's symbolic. We can't do it. Do you think the same thing will happen if Biden takes over?
I think you have a good point. I think what would happen here, it can't happen with the stroke of a pen. I think that they might want to do it. The construction is something that's easier to stop. However, everything else that he wants to do is the asylum, reinstitute all the asylum cases that were there before, that remain in Mexico, currently policy that President Trump has ordered. He wants to reduce the detentions, continue to catch and release illegal aliens back into our country. And, of course, he wants to work into the granting amnesty for all illegal aliens. And it's not something that can be done overnight, and they're going to realize that if they do want to do that, it's going to have to be done in phases and in layers, if you will.
Talking right now to Victor Avila, retired ICE Supervisory Special Agent, about what's going on with a border wall and also the border. Victor, when a lot of people think about a border wall, they think about illegals trying to get in here and you know, get the American dream. But there's so much more to it. I mean, we talk about terrorists trying to come across the border. We talk about keeping people out. I mean, we're dealing with a pandemic right now. People with viruses from third world country trying to come across the border. And also, too, human smuggling in drugs. You were almost killed by a drug cartel. Your partner was murdered inches from you. Talk a little bit about the drug cartels and the other aspects of why we need a secure border, not just people coming across illegally.
It is the cartels is probably the biggest threat to our country right now. The cartels right now have control of 80% of the country of Mexico by Mexico's own statistics. The impact that they have in our communities with the poison that they're bringing in, the fentanyl, the methamphetamine, the heroin, and the epidemic that we are experiencing in our country right now is directly related to the cartels. A lot of the violence that we see in Chicago, Maryland, St. Louis, these cities with high rates of shootings and homicides, is directly related back to the cartels. The cartels are in our country and 40 countries around the world, not just in Mexico. And so we need to completely start addressing the issue down there in Mexico, because they're right next door to us. It's not like Iraq that's 6,000 miles away. They are our neighbor, and the cartels are a huge threat to our security.
Victor, you suffered multiple gunshot wounds. As I mentioned, your partner, Jaime, was murdered inches away. What happened in that scenario when you were ambushed?
This was when I was an assignment at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City. Jaime Zapata and I were given an assignment to go travel on Highway 57, which is the main corridor between Mexico City and going north to Monterrey, to pick up some equipment from our ICE counterparts. On the way back, we were ambushed by approximately 10 Los Zetas cartel members. Were pushed off the side of the highway and attacked with shot over 90 rounds at our armored vehicle. And the long story there, yes, Agent Zapata was tragically killed. I was shot 3 times and miraculously survived. And so I share that story in my book, Agent Under Fire, and also everything that we've talked about on the second part of my book. I talk about all the border security, sanctuary cities, everything that affects our illegal immigration and the impact it has in the United States.
You know, I'm not going to ask you about your stance on the pandemic or, governors issuing lockdowns and stuff, but I do want to ask you this because I find it incredibly hypocritical. I've seen Democratic governors chastising business owners for wanting to stay open during this pandemic, ignoring mandates because they want to put food on their table, calling them lawbreakers, and getting on sheriffs who've said, I'm not going to enforce these lockdowns. Yet you don't see them calling out fellow Democrats who allow these sanctuary cities. I saw Cuomo saying, law enforcement can't pick and choose what rules they enforce, yet he's got no problem with his buddy in California or San Francisco or some of these other cities picking and choosing what they want to enforce when it comes to illegal immigration.
That is a direct threat to our U.S. citizens. And when these illegal aliens get released from jail and they fail to notify ICE on purpose because they don't want to work with ICE because it's all political, these individuals get released and they commit crimes. There was just one last week in Los Angeles. They failed to notify ICE. He was released and went on a stabbing spree at a church and killed a couple of individuals and stabbed several people. This happens on a daily basis with illegal aliens that were encountered and in the criminal justice system. This is not that ICE is going out in the street picking up people. These are people that are being encountered because they've committed another state crime. And so sanctuary city policies and in some cases sanctuary states are protecting these illegal aliens, and a lot of it has to do because of politics and not keeping in mind the safety and security of the citizens.
Talking to Victor Avila right now, retired ICE Supervisory Special Agent, author of the book Agent Under Fire, A Murder and a Manifesto. Victor, how many other Trump immigration policies do you think Biden will try to reverse?
He's going to try to reverse all of them. He wants to end the deportations. He wants to reduce the detentions. The big one is the asylum cases. You're going to see the messages that's already being sent to Mexico and Central America, and the droves of, remember those caravans that were coming here in the last 18 months? Well, wait and see, because they'll be coming in hundreds of thousands of them to our southern border, thinking, you know what, it's going to be an open border policy. We're going to get in. And if Biden and institutes all these policies and gets rid of all of Trump's, we're going to have a crisis down there, and not a managed crisis like the Democrats say. It'll be a real crisis, and they're getting prepared for it now.
When you worked for ICE, when you were on the border, was there one agent you worked for? Was there one or anybody in the system that saw it firsthand and dealt with it every day that did not agree that we needed a border wall in certain places? Absolutely not.
This is, the wall, I like I told you, I saw so much activity in between the ports of entry. And the wall, what it does, it would force everyone to a certain, funnel the illicit activity to a certain location. And we want them to come to the port of entry. We want to detect the drugs. Right now, we're having record numbers of seizures of methamphetamine and fentanyl at our ports of entry. What does that mean? That means that a lot of it is coming through. And, we're detecting maybe 15, 20% of what's coming into our country. The border is still not secure. It's better, but it's still a long ways from being completely secure. And until we secure our border, then we could deal with everything else. And that starts with dealing with the cartels as well.
Victor, before I let you go, last question. Your book, Agent Under Fire, A Murder in a Manifesto. What do you want somebody to get out of reading it? Where can they find it?
You go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You'll learn about the story, about my career, and especially I go into my assignment in Mexico, working in the most dangerous city in the world in Ciudad Juarez, and, of course, my assignment in Mexico City and the shooting. And then the second part is really solutions to everything that we talked about here, the border wall, sanctuary cities, the special interest aliens that are coming in through Mexico from other special interest countries, possible terrorists. I really outline all that in my book, and I hope people could get something out of it.
All right, Victor, I'm so glad you joined me today. Let's do this again. I'd like to have you on again at some point.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. That is Victor Avila, once again, retired ICE Supervisory Special Agent.